What's up, fellow fantasy-loving friends? Josh here with RSMP Tabletop, and I'm beyond excited because I'm here with...
Jared from the BS crew.
Nice. Jared, what did we just do?
We just had you play your first ever game of Kill Team at long last.
So I've only played 4 games of Necromunda, or 5, and then this was like the only other GW game I've ever played, so yes.
Yeah, specifically, this was your first game of Kill Team ever, but also it was the first game of the new edition for him. So this will be kind of like a breakdown of what game you just played, what you thought about it, kind of like a first-timer's perspective at it. And this is Kill Team 2024 with some of the new teams as well.
So if you got to see like one of the first videos we did, and there's a follow-up, it came from the Warhammer game series, and he got to play Marvel Crisis, and we got to talk about that. Now it's kind of just reverse, right? So Now you taught me some Kill Team, and we're just going to kind of talk about that, talk about some things that I liked about it, talk about some similarities to Marvel Crisis and some differences. And I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because I'm hoping that the viewer out there can see what we're doing and talking about and be like, yeah, I want to play that too. Let's start off by saying, so you said we modified the rules slightly not to just overwhelm the first game.
Yep.
Can you just explain like what we ended up doing?
Yeah, so basically what we did, we dropped the stratagems and the equipment from the game. If you're a Kill Team veteran like me, you know, those definitely do alter how the game is played pretty significantly. But for the first time, and I've done this with a few other people as well before, you know, you just wanted to get someone, if you want someone to get into the game, you want them to get the core rules down first. You want them to know how to fight, you want them to know how to shoot, and we did a lot of that, and we'll go over that in a minute. But yeah, and then there's some of the competitive rules, like the equipment and the stratagems, that we didn't really go over this time, but you know, next time we play, hopefully Josh will get fully into the rule set.
Yeah, so I will say, watching setup, there was a lot for you to set up right off the bat, but it seemed like there was things that made it a little bit more simple. You had a map to kind of show you where the terrain went and stuff. The setup time definitely seems like it did take a little bit longer than like a Marvel Crisis, but at the same time, it was definitely worth it because this terrain and this board, first of all, I just want to compliment your painting. I love the blue and the way that this came out. Like,
thank you.
It just made it so much more interactive to jump into this style, but I thought this was awesome. Like, this, terrain-wise, I'm typically not the biggest fan of this type of Games Workshop stuff. I usually feel like it feels a little thin to me, but in this particular situation, the color scheme of this board, I absolutely loved it. I love the multi-levels. We got to use that, and it actually affected the game. And I've talked about before, like, one of my, not gripes, but one of the things I would improve in Marvel Crisis Protocol is I wish there was more that mattered depending on where you were, you know, terrain height-wise, and there's not. There was here. It did matter. It completely affected the game, and it was a ton of fun. Who did we play?
Yeah, so I played the Chaos Legionaries Kill Team. I did the pretty basic. I did the champion and some of the separate operatives there. And Josh played Angels of Death, so he used some of my Black Templars here, because if anybody here that's watching is new to Kill Team, I personally feel like that the Space Marine factions are probably the easiest ones to get into. They have less models than most of the other Kill Teams. You're only running 6 models each. And a lot of the rules are pretty self-explanatory most of the time. So, you know, they add like little differences, but nothing like there's some teams that kind of change how the game is played, to be honest with you. But these guys are very much, they're kind of like bread and butter. Like, you know what you're getting with Space Marines, and you're good to go.
Plus, they get 3 things that they can do each turn, which is just sweet.
Yes, yeah. So, which kind of puts them like head and shoulders above everybody else. Because, you know, if you're using either like, I have like my dwarfs and I have my guardsmen on the table here too. Like, those guys only have 2 actions each turn. But Space Marines are super cool and better than everybody else, so they get 3. So it definitely helps out a lot.
So we got to play the game, and one of the things I had kind of mentioned that I think would be important for me in my progression in this game is, like, now that I got to play it, I'm kind of hooked into it. I very much enjoyed our first game. Very, very much. I will start off by saying that. But I think for my key to success in this game now is I need to now buy an army, a faction, an affiliation, whatever it's called in here, that I can build, paint, kind of get to know a little bit better. I'll learn the data sheet cards and like a little bit about it. You know me. You know I'm obviously a big horror guy. You kind of know what I like, and you know I very much enjoyed playing those Space Marines. Who do you recommend I pick up as my first?
Yeah, so knowing you and knowing like our shared love for horror movies and stuff like that, Nemesis Claw. Not even a question. Nemesis Claw, they are Space Marines, so if you like things that could just charge in, kill stuff, you take all that, except, you know, the Nemesis Claw, the Night Lords, they flay people alive. their whole tactic is scaring people into like throwing them off their game. You know, that's how the Night Lords function. And also they're really cool. They're like a dark blue scheme with like lightning bolts and stuff. They look sick. So yeah, that's 100%. I think that's definitely your option. Or we were also looking at the Felgor Ravagers, which are like the demon
Minotaur people. Yeah.
Like, so those are also super cool as well. So.
I'm probably going to snag both of them just because I think it's going to be fun to build and paint and just have a good time with them. Because I'd mentioned a number of times in the videos, like the building and the painting was something I didn't even like care about at all when I started this, but it's really been one of the things that has hooked me into the game. And especially like what I will say when I've done GW stuff, there's so much character like built into these models and the terrain and everything that it's really hard not to feel like you're pulled into the world. So I think for Kill Team, for what we had here, the terrain felt like it was enough. It was a lot. It was awesome. The board made a big difference. Like, you know, suppose having something flat, like it's obviously not like actual terrain or anything here, but it's got printed stuff on it, makes it feel a little bit better. And you did a great job on the painting, like I said. So for me, the game was absolutely immersive. Just to get on real quick to like what I thought about my first experience with this game and what I thought was kind of different than Marvel Crisis, the thing that really made my eyes light up and hooked me right off the rip was it turn 2? We got right into combat?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it ran right up, got right into combat, and I killed you in 2 rolls? And it was like, I don't know, watching you have to take your character off the table right then and there. And like, I do like in Marvel Crisis how like you have a flip side to the card, you know, your stun, whatever flips over. But at the same time, like you did the work, but now they're still there. Here, it was just nice to be like, I got you and you're gone. We both started with 6 models and then all of a sudden you're down to 5 right off the rip. And I thought the back and forth exchange of like losing somebody, like it just makes everything you do a lot more higher stakes and a little bit more exciting. So the fact that you can just die super easy, the combat's just ultra bloody, you just walk in head first and just start like smashing things out. Loved that. But then I thought the shooting and the rest of the combat and everything else we did in the game felt really well balanced. I thought it all had a purpose. It all made sense. So as far as balanced wise, I think it's very well balanced. Again, it's been one game. It was kind of a walkthrough, but like, I just very much enjoyed it. And I thought the dice, every single time we went to like roll, I was excited because cool stuff was going to happen one way or another.
Yep. Yeah, and I will say, especially starting how I was playing the Chaos Marines, you were playing the Imperial Marines, going head to head with them. These guys are like, these models are the walk up and kill things. You know, and that's their whole game plan. So, and I think especially for you being new, like it was really fun just for us to be like, okay, like we're still gonna play the objective, but we only have 6 dudes. We gotta start killing stuff, you know. So like, you know, first activation of turn 2, we were already charging in, throwing chainswords around. You know, it's a blast always. And you know, you unfortunately fell victim to a melt-a-gun, you know, so like, you know, which is a short range blast, just, you know, your guy's gone.
Well,
you know,
it took you got him down to 2 life the first attack.
That is true. But yeah, the thing with Kill Team, and if you have watched any of the videos as far as like the design team talking about it, like when this new edition came out, this is a hyper lethal game. You know, like there's definitely times in 40K, in big 40K, I should say, where, you know, you may not kill like an entire squad in one turn. You know, it might take multiple rounds of shooting to really polish something off. But in Kill Team, if you jump into melee, you are going to be in a brutal, like you're in a brutal kill zone, really, is what it comes down to. It's like, if you thought that the Space Marines were killing people easily, imagine how it would be if you were doing like 10, or like the 10 Guardsmen against 6 Space Marines. Those Space Marines, they roll in, they only need like maybe 2 hits instead of 4 to kill somebody. You know, it's a very quick to kill game. And also, again, it can be very swingy, right? With those with the counteracts that I was showing you in turn 2. So because you killed up a lot of my guys, I got a couple free actions on my other units as well. And doing that, like, it doesn't make you feel like you're losing the game. I mean, like, you know that you're losing the game, but it doesn't feel like you're doing nothing and you're just waiting for it to be over, you know? And probably why I think I prefer Kill Team over big 40K most of the time, you always feel like you're doing something, right? So like and especially because it's only a handful of models on each side, you're constantly you're moving, you're picking up an objective, or even if it's your opponent's activation, you're always like, especially if it's a fight, you're just in the action. You're just as much in the action as they are. You know, and I just find it's incredibly like engaging. Yeah, and yeah, so I love it. This is my game of choice most of the time.
Yeah, I'll tell. So I very much enjoyed it. Like I'm actually excited to play this game. I want to pick up some stuff so I can again build, paint, really start. While I build and paint, I always like listen to like either the lore. When I did the X-Men, I watched the classic cartoon. Like I like to do something that makes me feel like I'm part of it, and I think it's just going to help me get motivated to want to play this more. But again, it was just so much fun throwing haymakers and watching models just come off the table back and forth. And like you said, that rule of you're down characters, but you get this activation that you get to do, so you still feel like you're part of the game. I just thought it was honestly, it was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And then the other thing that I thought was really cool about it was pretty much every time a weapon came up that had something, whether it was pierce or what was the one that scatter shot or let me shoot.
Oh, torrent.
Torrent.
Yeah.
All the abilities that we stumbled across or came across, I thought really added to the game and really just like they were good. It didn't feel like fluff. It felt like it was put there because it did something. And it's like, yes, the dice are swingy, not as much as Marvel Crisis, from my humble opinion, and in a one game testing pod here, but like they felt a little bit more consistent. So I could see when you add all the rules and the stratagems and everything, it's like all those little things together really help create the balance that just make the game feel good. So it was my first time playing. Did you see any glaring mistakes that I made, or do you think it went pretty smooth? Or
I think it went pretty smooth overall. Again, like you actually won the game. There was a lot of fighting going on because I think both of us were just like, let's throw some dice. Let's see what's going to happen here. It's like you mulched most of my team. But it was always really fun because, with games like this, like you took out my guy, I took out your guy. It just kind of went back and forth for a lot of that, I really liked what you said about the specific like weapon keywords. There's a lot of other ones that, obviously you haven't seen yet because we have only played these two teams, but like they also keep it very kind of like lore focused as well. Like this feels like a very cinematic game, right? Like much like a lot of other skirmish games do as well. Where, like if you have a plasma weapon, the whole thing with plasma in 40K is that it can overheat and it can wound and or kill you, right? So let's say if you have a plasma pistol on one of your guys and you like overcharge it, right, to get some extra damage, you're taking that chance at essentially blowing yourself up with your shot, It's just such an interactive game. I have nothing but praise for it, so.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. So, okay, what did we start on? What is this? Was this an addition? Did you piece this together? What is this?
Yeah, so all of the terrain and the rule set and everything came from the core rules of Kill Team 2024, which is the third edition of the game. And this specifically, all of this terrain came from the Hivestorm box. So the Hivestorm box is honestly probably the best point to get into Kill Team right now because it gives you the core rules, it gives you the Hivestorm dossier that we have right here, which is where like a lot of the equipment rules and some of the advanced stuff are. And then it also comes with the two kill teams. We have the Tempestus Aquilons there, which are the jump pack Imperial Guard units. And I split the box with a friend of mine, so I don't have the other kill team, but those are the Vespids, which are like the alien faction. But yeah, so it comes with that, those two teams, all the terrain, all the rules, pretty much everything that you need to actually get started with the game. I think that comes in at around like $250, I believe. It's approximately on that. But yeah, and they're still regularly releasing now these two team box sets as well. So there's one that just came out that we were talking about. It's called Brutal and Cunning, which it features orcs, the Rekka boys, which are essentially just a bunch of guys with like rockets strapped to hammers, and it's very goofy, very orky, very fun. And it also comes with ratlings, who are essentially these like dwarven, kind of like dwarven like abhumans, right? So they're kind of like mutants, but they're also like tiny Imperial Guard units, effectively. But yeah, so basically the game is in a very healthy state right now. I played both the 2021 version and the first edition, which was back in 2018. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of team rotations that will probably be happening in the next year or two that we could talk about here in a minute. But yeah, I think this edition right now is a great way to just, if you're interested into 40K, this is probably the way that you want to do it. You don't want to bite off, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew with like 1,000 points of an army right away. If you want to start with something small, you just want to buy like one box and your paints. This is a great way to get into it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. For me, again, an hour to an hour and a half is like my sweet spot for a game. Like I don't want to play, like if I play too much more than that, like I'm going to get honestly kind of bored with a lot of stuff. Like I want to I'd rather reset and play another game again and have another chance, because I feel like by the time you go to a certain point, like you almost know who's going to win or lose. Maybe not in this game, but like a lot of games in general. So it's kind of like, I don't know. But this game, we played in, I think, 45 minutes. I mean, it was a little quicker than
this was a very quick game.
Yeah, I mean, it was. But I see the appeal to it. And again, like if we did the same game again, like same sides, it would be so different. And it's like, I think the ability to get better by not only learning the game, but learning who you're playing and learning the insides and out is definitely exciting. You had talked about there's been different iterations of this game, essentially. So Kill Team started in 2018 was the first edition?
Yeah, that was the first like officially published edition of it. Yes.
Yeah. So I have Kill Team Into the Dark. Is that compatible with this?
The terrain and the kill teams are currently compatible. Yeah. So the way on how this new edition works, there's some of the old, they were called compendium teams. I can go over that in a minute. Those are no longer compatible in this edition, unfortunately. But it kind of makes sense from a balance perspective, which we can talk about. But so there's I guess technically 4 main sets of terrain that that Kill Team is played on. So this is what's called Killzone Vulcus. This is essentially like your standard terrain. You know, you have the scalable buildings. You have a lot of vantage points that you can use. This is the one that, again, it came in the Hivestorm box. So this is the one that you're probably going to see the most frequently. Then there is it's called Gallowdark Into the Dark. You know, so that'll be number 2. Those are your Space Hulk close quarter maps. So that's going to be like the flying units don't really have as much to do there, but it's very close quarters. A big part of the game actually when you do that is you open and close doors, which it sounds like such a small thing, but there's ways that you can just block off entire sections of the map that way. It's really cool. And then third is Beta Decima, which is the one that we were just looking at earlier, which is essentially the ocean world. And it's almost like you're on like a big like oil rig kind of, where you're in the middle of the ocean and there's a bunch of like extra like pillars that you need to like jump to and from in order to play the game. And then the fourth one is the one that doesn't really have like a set maps like the rest of the terrain sets do currently. And that's just open. That's essentially, you know, you take any kind of terrain that you want, you just kind of throw it down and you just, you know, as long as you do like a gentleman's agreement essentially with your opponent, you'll be able to play on it. Mm-hmm. So only other thing as far as the terrain that I really do appreciate about this edition is that they do include actual maps in terrain layouts. So they do that for the main 3 that I just went over. So that way there's no guesswork to be like, oh, I don't know if this is a fair terrain layout. You know, I don't want to like accidentally set it up so I could like snipe somebody from across the board, you know. These are all made by GW. They're all fairly balanced from what I've seen. And it feels really nice to take the guesswork out of putting down terrain on the table, you know. So it allows for the flow of the game to really just kind of start sooner, which I really appreciate.
Nice. So it sounds like basically if somebody was thinking about playing Kill Team, your best bet is to go buy the Hivestorm box right now.
Probably, yeah, because you get 2 teams, you get all the terrains. Like it's really what you need for Kill Team in a box. Mm-hmm.
But split it with a buddy, get it for $125, find it on sale, go to your local game store, talk to them. Yep. Is there anything you'd like to add on to this Kill Team portion or talk about now?
I think other than just saying once again, I think Kill Team is in a pretty good spot right now. There should be a new balance slate coming out soon, so there might be some shakeups happening as far as like just how the competitive play works. But yeah, no, I think for the most part, this is like if you're new to Warhammer and you're like, hey, this looks really cool. If you're starting from either Space Marine 2 or if you saw the new Secret Level episode, or even if you just heard your friends talking about Warhammer and you want to play, I honestly think Kill Team is probably the best spot for you, to be honest. So yeah, no, other than just play the game. It's in a great spot. We're going to be getting a lot of models over the next course of the next few years. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Nice. And coming up in future episodes, we're going to see you on the channel more, doing some more Kill Team stuff, more Warhammer in general. And we're going to get some battle reports going, kind of like we've been doing for Marvel Crisis, multiple camera angles, overlays, and stuff like that. And, we're going to try to just keep expanding and adding cool games to what we're trying to show off to the world.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming down and showing me this awesome game. I look forward to making some awesome content with you in the future. And for the viewers out there, until next time, stay safe.